Good evening, all, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me tonight, at least to start, are Sora Luna
Good evening.
and the Harry Channel.
A very sniffly hello.
We may be joined here in a moment because I did send out the link to a third minion, but they just haven't shown up yet.
Name and shame.
He might pop in here in a moment and it'll make it obvious.
If
But-
he doesn't show up, name and shame.
Perhaps by the end of the night. But yes, and of course I'm the keeper for the night because it is a Wednesday. Sanguine, how are all of you doing tonight?
Sleepy.
Vaguely annoyed and dissatisfied. That's not
He's-
terrible, I suppose.
Any
He's angry
particular
dwarf.
reason?
I bought a new phone. It cost me a lot of money. It's supposed to be waterproof, shockproof, dustproof, pretty much idiot-proof, which is
No!
me. And
Why did-
unfortunately, there's a little problem with the gasket that covers the USB-C charging/data port, meaning that it is not any of those things by want of having an ill-fitting rubber band.
Ah, fantastic.
So
Now-
I called up Verizon and said, you're going to fix this, right? Well, yeah, kind of. I was like, no, you're just going to fix this, and it's not going to cost me anything. Make this right.
Fantastic.
Yes. But it's just the
Did
annoyance
you-
of setting up a phone, and then I have to do it all over again.
But did you find that out just by looking at it, or did something happen?
Well, at first, my whole thought was, it's much easier to open this little secure waterproof port than it was on the previous model. And then I went to look at it a little more closely less than 24 hours after it arrived. I'm like, that doesn't close all the way. That's why it's easier.
See, I was half hoping in a fucked up way that you took it a step further and you went, well, let me double check. Fill up a glass of water. Yep, this is now fucked.
Yeah, well, that would be the more scientific way to do it, but it would also be not a very good way from a warranty perspective. I think intentionally drowning the phone is probably ill-advised. And given that it's just, like, it's been within my possession less than 24 hours, I'm like, no, you can just, for the amount of money I just paid you, you can make this right.
Yep.
I thought, I could fix it. It's like, well, okay, I could fix it, but I'm not going to. You're just going to send me another phone, damn it. And the bigger message here is quality control, for quality assurance, where quality is assured. I'm sure they checked over a million different things because it's actually made in Japan, so it's a good, well-made thing. But they overlooked a tiny little bit on a data port. I mean, a little piece of plastic that isn't quite the right shape with a gasket that isn't quite right. They probably tested the radio and everything else. Who knows how much time they spent making sure that this was a quality Japanese-made product, only to have the tiny little bit of plastic at the bottom screw the whole thing up.
Yeah, your phone wasn't made in an area where they need anti-suicide netting on the building?
No, it's actually what's called TAA compliant, meaning it's not made by slave labor and made in a country that doesn't hate us.
Ah, nice.
It's designed to be used by the government and first responders and contractors and people who do serious things in dangerous places.
Yep.
It's actually rated not to get you blown up if there's explosive vapors around. You know, that kind of stuff.
Oh, very nice.
Well, I just got tired of breaking phones all the time, so I just started buying the rugged ones. And while I watch everybody else, put cases on their phones and screen protectors, and I'm just like, I don't have to do any of that.
Watch me
But your
spike
phone
this
is so
into the
big.
concrete.
Well, yeah, I've dropped it onto concrete. I've dropped on it to asphalt. Even with 2 years of use on the old one, it doesn't have a scratch on it. Oh, it has a scuff on the back, but the screen is completely unblemished, and I've never had a screen protector on it.
Yeah, see, this is just reminding me of when I was in high school. For a very short period of time, my mom was slightly concerned that I might be trying to break my phones on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I was just extraordinarily bad at keeping track of where the fuck the phone was. So there'd be like, I'd pick up my phone, look at something, and it started with, I think it was a flip phone that I had first. in this chain of phones. So I looked at it, I set it down, and then like an hour later I went to get up and I put my hand on my desk. And as I put my hand on my desk, I just kind of flopped it down and snapped the phone. Because my finger hit right at the hinge and just...
Oh.
So, had to get a new phone. Next phone, it was in my pocket, and I ended up getting into an impromptu game of Smear the Queer. And...
That's what it was called. It's not...
Wait!
It's just what we used to call it.
There's a couple different names for this game, depending on where you are. So, the areas that you could be in, or the different names that I know of, are Fumble Rumble, which is used a lot in more northern areas from what I've seen. Then there's Smear the Queer, which apparently is used on the East Coast, more south, and since Harry knows it, apparently the West Coast as well.
Yeah, apparently the West Coast as well. I do think that some people might consider that name offensive now.
Yeah, and then there's at least one other name, and I'm trying to remember what the hell it goes by. But effectively, it's everyone's on their own team. There are no teams in this game. There's a football that is just tossed loose, and whoever gets their hands on that football, everyone else is trying to murder.
That is the version I'm acquainted with.
Yeah. So, whoever has the ball in Smear the Queer is designated the queer, and you're supposed to tackle the ever-living shit out of him.
Jesus Christ.
And
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Now, I was going to tell you. I'll tell you about a variation on it that you may not have heard of. But go on.
Is it the weird
story.
team one? Because
No.
I played the weird team one once.
No. It's a guy I know from Iowa who's a really decent guy, really nice guy. But he's one of those sophists. He will argue any point if he just for the sake of arguing it. He's the most contrary person I've run into. But he grew up playing a game called Tackle Bucket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the rules are not particularly sophisticated. You sit on a bucket and everybody tackles you.
Nice.
Okay, your turn.
But yeah.
I don't understand the point of that game personally, but whatever.
So, I got into an impromptu game, and I did something that there's no rule against it in any sort of ruling on this game. But I found it fucking hilarious. The person who would end up falling for it at least once every time I played found it less so. Because I would get the ball, I'd start running, someone would come running up to me, I'd lob it into their chest, tackle them, pick up, just start running again.
Seems legit. But you were talking about damaging your phones, I believe, weren't you?
I ended up getting in an impromptu game, and it was in my pocket. And I think it was in the lower pocket because I was wearing a pair of cargo pants.
Oh.
And
so it was serving the role of hip protector or leg protector.
Knee pad.
Oh, okay.
So I end up going down and snap the phone in half with my knee. Had to get a new one. That one survived for like another week. And then that one broke. I went through like 5 phones in a few weeks. Thankfully, all of them were under the complete replacement guarantee. I don't think we were allowed to use the complete replacement guarantee after that for a little bit. But they replaced all the phones that I fucked up somehow.
When my grandmother was in the rest home, because she unfortunately had dementia, she wanted a phone so she could call me, and I hooked her up with one of my favorite phones of all time, a Nokia 6310i. which is a fantastic phone. It's like a little candy bar one with the buttons on the front. It's got ridiculous battery life. I mean, this thing will, if you don't overdo it, it'll go for 2 weeks on a charge.
That's the insanely durable one, right?
It was very durable for its time. It was a well-made phone. It was a good Nokia phone, and probably still one of my favorites, even with its monochrome LCD display and only Snake as a game. As a phone, it was just one of my favorite phones of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother decided that she didn't like it. She wanted her Jitterbug phone, which was her phone designed for old people with giant buttons.
Yep.
But she lost her Jitterbug phone, so what was I going to do? They're really expensive. So I gave her this one. And so she waited for her ice cream to melt, and she just dropped it in the bowl.
Nice.
6310 does not hold up to ice cream.
Okay.
Uh,
And after that, she didn't have a cell phone.
I was trying to remember which Nokia is the one that is the almost mythically durable one that everyone jokes about. Because my father broke one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, didn't really break one. He melted one in the desert. Melted all the buttons and melted the membrane. I don't know how he managed to do it, but he melted the membrane and the buttons in the desert. So
With
it was
great
completely
skill.
fucked.
Insane in the brain!
And
Hey!
Patty?
Hi, Adam.
How's it going, everybody?
goes
Good.
well.
Bowen.
We are live, just to make sure that you know.
Oh, wait. For real?
There's no wait. We're live.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're live.
Well, I mean, you can... Whoa.
Whoa,
Is that
static from
me?
someone. I think that might have been static from Sora.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just moving and I didn't mute. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Hey, you know we're live, right?
I know. I have terrible etiquette. Sorry about that, guys.
You know, just looking out for you, Sora.
Thanks, Adam.
But yeah, so he ended up melting the insanely durable Nokia membrane behind the buttons that allows it to actually pick up what button you're pressing and all the buttons on the face of it. It was completely fucked, naturally. So we still have that somewhere floating around the family home as the time that he destroyed the Indestructible. We still don't know how, because it should have been rated for the desert temperatures. And if he had tried to melt them on purpose, it seems like more of the phone would have been melted.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just rather impressive that how the fuck?
I'm trying to bring up a picture of my first cell phone.
Ah.
Oh my god.
You always
show
remember the
you.
first.
Yes. It was a damn fine thing. Well, it was certainly better than a lot of the places I'd been stranded while out road biking and mountain biking. It's like, oh, this sucks. I can't get a hold of anybody. I'm screwed. Well, it's time to basically find somebody with a pickup and get a ride down the hill because I have no more patches left for this tire.
Find someone with a pickup and enough that I'm not sure that they're going to murder me.
Okay, so this was my first cell phone.
Okay, let me...
And it is pretty damn indestructible. I actually
Nice.
dropped it onto one of those big piles of rock, and it slid about 30 feet down the side of it.
Hey, nice phone, Zach Morris.
Now, these were pretty durable, but I'm guessing this isn't the one you were referring to.
No, I'm referring to the same Nokia generation that they dropped from Low Earth, if I remember correctly.
Wait, intentionally?
Yeah.
As check out our phone?
As
the Game Boy could stand...
There's so many memes
Desert
about
Strike.
it being indestructible. Fuck it. Let's do it. They did all kinds of weird shit with that one. Because there was dropping it from, like, several different types of buildings. There's a channel that made a Warhammer out of just a shit ton of them.
Jesus.
It looks like the Nokia 3310 is the one that everybody was talking about.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is just this candy bar sort of thing. I had one. I had one of those at one point, and I didn't find it to be that indestructible. Let me see if this is the one.
I'm gonna have to see an image for that because
Yeah.
the moment you said it looked like a candy bar, that just the
that's
immediate
just the-
image was the razor. You know, I don't think that's what you're talking about.
Oh no, Razor's a flip.
Yeah, one of those really thin, flippy.
No, the candy bar were the non-flip phones at the time.
Okay, so what kind of candy bar are we talking about here? You know, chocolate bunny. You know, cream egg. What Twix?
You know those novelty-sized, gigantic chocolate bars?
Like one of those goofy ones that.
Yeah, it's like several bits from that one because he has it on the screen right now.
Yeah.
And
Oh, okay. Oh, dude, yeah, the one that promulgated snake.
yeah, it was the insanely durable one, according to everyone.
Well, it
I
still
have
had a
those.
plastic screen over the LCD, so you could scratch the hell out of it, but it was durable in the sense that it's pretty hard to break these. These phones were really well made.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I just realized, because Adam's in now, that technically talking about my dinner would entice him for about half of it, absolutely disgust him for one, or actually entice him for about 2/3, and absolutely disgust him for 1/3 of it.
Steak and a bloomin' onion.
Because I have,
what is it, dude? Yeah. A
I
bloomin'
have-
onion with a steak in the center or something like that.
chicken tenders that I just finished frying up the chicken tenders that were dipped in a Smithwick's beer batter.
Ooh.
Absolutely amazing. I've done them before.
Did you say
Go ahead.
acidic beer batter? Did they?
Smithwick's.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, dude. The Hasidic Jews have their own beer batter that they. That's
Not a Hasidic.
fantastic. Oh, my bad.
Smithwick's.
Yeah, no, it's schematics. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, chicken tenders in a Smithwick's beer batter. But it's absolutely delicious. I've done the chicken this way before. In fact, I did it earlier in the week, and fuck yeah. Then the second portion, which is the bit that Adam will find absolutely revolting,
Uh-oh.
is that I'm doing beer battered onion rings.
I'm not a fan either.
They're good
Yeah.
when you use a sweet onion, and in this batter, they're just
Dude, I don't care how sweet that onion is, okay? She could be the sweetest of hearts. It's still grody gross, man. You can't do that, man.
So
And you can beer bat them all you want.
it's in the same Smithwick's batter, which will be absolutely amazing. And then back to something that he would probably enjoy, just a beautiful mixed green salad with a home vinaigrette. And one thing that he might not like, but might, is some pickled shallot.
Mm. Yeah, that's not too bad. What kind of greens we talked about in that salad? Cabbage?
They're going to be, the one that I'm going
Come on,
to use
dude.
today, I think, is some radish greens, some, trying to remember what type of kale. I want to say it was red kale, and a handful of other salad greens. Yields a really nice blended flavor.
Not bad. You know what? I would gladly take a dish and I just slide the onion rings onto Sora's plate.
like I said, it will be delicious once it's all done. I'm just now frying up the onion rings for it. And, oh god, that'll be good. Though I'm debating, and I'll ask you guys whether you think I should do this. Should I twice fry the chicken tenders?
Well, what will twice? What will? Fuck, I'm not gonna be able to say it now, am I?
What will twice frying the chicken tenders do?
Yes, yeah.
It'll make them crispier.
Ah. Will it add flavor, or will it take away anything? Or?
Won't take away flavor. It'll add a bit more texture.
I would, for a piece of meat that's that thin, I would just cook them and eat them.
Just the once, right?
Yeah, just the once. With larger pieces of meat, like, full-size pieces of fried chicken, which you shouldn't make too large anyway, there are definitely some advantages. But for something that thin, I just throw them in a hot skillet, fry them up, and eat them.
Yeah.
So like a thicker cut would benefit a little bit more from.
Well,
double.
There are certain types of thinner bits of meat that benefit from twice fry. Like if I was making karaage tonight.
Well, you do it in Chinese food all the time.
Yeah, and karaage is twice fried because you do one 90-second lower temperature fry. So that one's normally around like 325 for 90 seconds. Then you crank it up to about 360, 370, and you do a 45-second fry, and you get beautiful karaage.
Well, I mean, if it's a technique that you use a lot, I would just do it and not think about it too much.
Well, I do both types of fry, a good chunk.
Karaage, with a K, is it?
Yes, it is Karaage. Karaage.
It just reminded me of the rundown, like Konlavos with a K.
Nice.
Oh, hey, pepperoni is trending
Why
in
the
the
hell's
United States.
pepperoni trending?
I don't know.
It's a sex thing.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
That's probably a good guess.
Ricky asked for another bit of pepperoni, but they didn't get it to him. So.
Yeah, well, they're going to give it to him.
Are you sure he's going to get pepperoni and not just the hard salami?
Ooh. Do they have that in Canada? Canadistan? Do we have a Canadistanian representative here to answer this question, or?
Well, she popped away to grab her food that just arrived.
Probably to go get some pepperoni. Or Pantene. Or poutine. Poutine.
Once she returns, we can ask her about what video number the hard salami is.
You know what? I think Harry should ask her that. You down, Harry?
I'm pretty sure. Let me give you the thing I tell all younger men. I know you're not super young, but you're not super old either. You have to pick. As you get older, there are two paths before you. One is the one where you just get creepy and enjoy being creepy, and the other one is where you try to be cool. You cannot pull off both of those at the same time. At least nobody I've met can do it. And so I try really hard when I think about, should I say something, whether it's going to come off as creepy or not, because I do not want to be a creepy old dude.
Don't you lie to us. We heard your Bob Ross impression.
Well, that was just to make Jenna flinch.
Wait, okay, on both instances, I don't know.
Have you not heard his creepy Bob Ross, Adam?
I have
nobody's
not,
heard it except for you, Prospero, and Jenna, and I think maybe Sora.
And I couldn't imagine, and honestly, I don't know if I want to imagine why it would make Jenna twitch, but But yeah, Harry, I would only say you because
It's a
because
deviation.
we
from character.
love you. I
Let's
have
see.
I have no idea.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
But it is true though. I mean, as you become an older dude, you want to be cool or creepy. I mean, but just accept whichever path you want to go down.
Yeah. You know what? The only creepy cool guy, old guy that I know that I can think of that works out is Master Roshi.
He's a fictional character.
He is fictional, but
Kame House has probably got a lot of. Is probably right next to Epstein's Island.
oh, he's right now looking not too good. But
So
there was a point that.
So is your theory there, Harry, that when they age out of Epstein Island, they go to Kame?
No, the thing is, Master Roshi's little island with Kame House, it deals in quality, not quantity. So, there's basically, at most, it's Bulma and one other, kind of vacant chick.
Oh yeah, who
like
is
the
that?
blonde one with like the
Launch.
Playboy bunny
Launch,
lounge outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, they got rid of Launch. Just completely fucking disappeared her.
He did go after 17 for a bit, but that stopped when she pretty much.
Was
Yeah.
I thought 17 was the dude. I thought 18 was the girl with the blunt cut.
Was it?
I don't know, but I wouldn't want to get that wrong.
I don't know. I can't recall. I mean, I was just playing the game the other day, but I don't recall.
Yeah, you find the lamp on the beach, and then you rub the lamp, and the genie comes out, and it's like, yeah, you've got 3 wishes, Adam, and you're like, yeah, I wanna hook up with Android 17. Then the dude shows up.
No, and then it's that weirdo fat
You're
clown
not even
one.
a power bottom at that point.
No, you end up selecting the wrong number, you get the trucker hat one.
Oh shit!
Well, the thing is, I don't know anything about anime, so I don't know why you people even bring this stuff up around me.
Because it's amusing.
Are you
Android
sure,
18 is-
Harry, that you don't know anything about anime? That you don't have a
I don't
specific
know
one?
No,
that you
anime's
want
for
to.
losers. I don't watch anime. No, Android 17 is the girl. Excuse me, woman, the powerful, empowered woman. And Android 17 is like, oh yeah, Android 17 is the dude, man.
Why not both?
Because they're
Because
family,
then
they're
you
like brother
fucking
and sister.
sell.
I don't know.
No,
What are we
clearly-
talking about?
Clearly, then you're fucking Cell, who ate both of them and absorbed both of them.
Yeah.
Kinky.
Hey, but
Oh, no, Adam!
someone had to hook up with Krillin. Krillin deserved a better life. Krillin shouldn't.
Oh,
die
is this
alone.
Dragon Ball Z?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a boy anime.
I
Is
just heard someone pop back in. I'm willing to bet someone fell out.
Adam.
Yes.
Yep. Let me
Sailor Luna's with us now, though.
click him back in. There you go, Adam.
Dude, why did Sora boot me out?
I didn't.
That was quite rude.
I didn't boot you out. I don't think I can boot you out.
You can't.
Mean.
I mean, I was just gonna say I would have done an oolong and wished for a pair of panties on my head, but I guess nobody wants to hear my opinion.
Also, I'm sorry. We're being rightfully corrected by Terry. It is indeed Dragon Ball Z. I agree.
What?
Terry, thank you for coming in. Thank
What
you.
is
In.
Zed?
They
Dragon
are
Ball
the
Z.
Z fighters.
Nobody listens to a foot.
They are canonically the Z fighters, not the Z fighters.
Yeah.
Then they're canonically wrong.
That's very English, but you're Canadian, which is slightly weird.
It's like we're part of a comic.
Yeah, but Normally it's England that is really happy about going someplace else and going, this is a beautiful thing you have here. We're changing all the names.
I mean, this was a kind of a colonized place, so...
Yeah, you're an example of that practice. You're the example.
I'm
not the
also from
practitioner.
British Columbia.
Oh. It's all
Well, it is
coming
my-
together.
It is my favorite part of Canada. Of course, it's the only part I've been to. So that might
And-
have something to do with it.
Don't worry, it would remain the best part.
I'd like to visit Nova Scotia.
Yeah, actually, me too. I've never been to the Maritimes. I want to go to PEI because I want to go to the Anne of Green Gables Museum.
Anna Green. Yeah.
Though
You found the
I
girliest part of
prefer.
that whole place.
I'm not a fan of Anne of Green Gables, but I think it would be cute to see it. I actually prefer Emily of New Moon, which is another series that she wrote. It's a trilogy, the book, and it's superior to Anne of Avonlea, but I'm in the minority with that
See-
opinion, I think.
I also want to go and see Newfoundland because the Newfies are this weird mix of Celtic Canadian. They're like 90% Celtic, but then just a slap of that Canadian nice.
A slap of Canadian nice.
Yeah, and I told you guys that. So, let me first make sure that people know what I'm talking about before I go into this, because it will make absolutely no sense if you don't know what the event is. Has anyone here heard of the play The Come From Away?
No.
It doesn't sound familiar, sorry.
It's a play about the events that happened during 9/11 elsewhere. So, the plot of it is that there's this one town in northern Canada. It's in
Oh, the one,
Newfoundland.
oh, yes, the one where we sheltered, basically.
Yeah, the place's name is
Museum.
Gander.
Okay.
So when 9/11 happened, a bunch of flights were redirected. Some of them were just told, land at this random goddamn airport. And one of the random goddamn airports that they were told to land was at Gander's airport. Gander is mainly used as a fueling station for certain cargo planes, but they do still have a little bit of international travel. So a bunch of planes were ordered to land there. And the town, upon hearing that this happened, upon hearing what this was about, came out and got the people off the planes, brought them into their homes, brought them in. They turned their local high school into a massive shelter, effectively. A bunch of people took people into their homes, and they just started making massive meals, entertaining all kinds of shit in order to make the people that were stuck there as happy and as comfortable as they possibly could. So they did all this shit, and due to that, a lot of the people that were part of the group that had to land at this one random airport in Newfoundland now will go back on a yearly pilgrimage almost to visit the people that they got to know during this time and reminisce and have a good time. And there's also been a play that was written about this, The Come From Away. And in The Come From Away, there's one of the main characters from the area based off of an actual person is the high school principal, who is also the town mayor. And like 4 or 5 other things in the town. I actually met the dude who was the high school principal, town mayor, like 4 other things, from Gander when I was in goddamn Ireland. And everyone's muted themselves.
Sorry, I'm eating. That's awesome. What a chance meeting.
Yeah, it was really weird and really interesting because it was the first day that I was in Ireland. We'd just flown in. It was early in the morning, so we grabbed breakfast and, well, my mom and I were talking. A couple was sitting at a nearby table. They noticed that we didn't have Irish accents and that we sounded something North American. Or at least my mom sounded something North American. My accent is always fucking weird, so no one can really proper place. But they started up a conversation with us, and as the conversation went on, it went to the, like, so what do you do? And it was the, oh yeah, well, my mom had retired by that point, so she said, yeah, I retired. I used to work at the Pentagon and did this and that and this. And they went, oh, really? And then the dude said that he's also retired. He was the mayor of the town for a while, and he was the school principal. And then they started asking about the Pentagon and if my mom was there during 9/11. And as the conversation shifted to 9/11, they started talking more, and yeah, they were from Gander. So the dude was the principal from that play. And they mentioned the play, which my mom and I had seen just like a handful of years before. So we were going, oh, we now know. Holy shit, what the fuck?
The people you meet.
Yeah, it was just a very weird chance meeting. That it would have been weird to happen anywhere, but it was even weirder that it happened in Ireland, as both they and us were on a vacation. Because you don't really expect that type of shit when on vacation.
Well, no, because it's especially for such a small town.
Yeah.
Meeting, like even a person who held some sort of position in a small town. It's not like you're going to a special event specifically for like an award ceremony or something like that, where it's plausible that you'll meet someone.
Yeah, it's not a situation where you would expect to meet them, and then it was just, oh, we actually know who you are. This is interesting. But yeah, it was a very odd chance meeting. And let's see, what's chat saying? And
Mr.
Okay.
Sorry. I was going to say, Mr. Yes is talking about the mystery of Oak Island. I think is the name of it. The Curse of Oak Island. And I'm wondering, I was just going to ask if is this the reality TV series or that he's speaking of?
That's all I was able to find when I was doing the searches. Yeah.
Because that looks interesting. Some sort of a treasure-seeking historical something or other.
So it's modern-day Canadian adult Legends of the Hidden Temple?
It's, let's see here. The curse follows a couple of brothers, originally from Michigan, to find the speculated... it's a multi-season reality television series that follows a team of treasure hunters searching for legendary treasure on the infamous Oak Island off the Atlantic shore of Nova Scotia.
Oh yeah, Oak Island. Dude, get out of here. They were tossing expeditions out there from Discovery Channel for a while. out to that place. They still haven't found shit. It's like Bigfoot.
So
Yeah, if there were so many trips there, yeah, I don't think there's a treasure.
No, at this point, yeah. That's like going to Roanoke and being like, "Whoa, we're gonna find the fucking lost village."
I
It's
love
like, are ya?
I love the story of Roanoke.
So what's the deal with the treasure?
What's the deal with Roanoke? Oh, wait.
Supposedly a treasure that was buried there or something?
Yeah, in
Wait.
some like bottomless pit or some bullshit. And it's like some weirdo fucking pirate treasure shit, you know?
Is it
Was
kind
it
of
a
like
pirate?
the Beale Ciphers?
The old ciphers?
Do you guys know about the Beale Ciphers?
I don't think so.
No.
Say that I do.
Okay. So the Beale Ciphers are a rather weird thing that people are still trying to crack. There were 3 ciphers that were put out that supposedly tell the burial location of a massive fortune of gold and silver. Let me quickly double check something so that I know that I'm giving the right information on it, because I think it was effectively a prospector who had struck it ridiculously rich
Mhm.
Oh, Stinky Pete.
and then returned to his home area of Bedford County, Virginia, and lived out a good chunk of his life, buried most of the shit that he earned, and then on his deathbed left 3 ciphers that would disclose the location where he buried everything, who were his inheritors, and I think it was 2 of them were the location, 1 was the inheritors, effectively. So only one of these 3 ciphers has been decrypted. The other 2 people have been working on for over 100 years. In fact, I think it's almost over 200 years now. It is...
How
Is it?
how are they sure that they deciphered the one?
Because they were able to actually read the entire thing, and it makes sense and is referencing things that make sense for it to reference.
Okay.
The way that it was
Well, kind of like
deciphered...
the Zodiac Killer had some of his earlier stuff deciphered.
Yeah, it was deciphered using the Declaration of Independence. Because it's a line page cipher for that one.
Who deciphered this? Nick Cage? Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
It's one of those what the fuck things. But yeah.
Declaration of Independence.
I see. I love this kind of when you hear about on the deathbed leaving ciphers to his buried gold. If I was that person, I would just be the biggest freaking troll. I'm like, haha, let these losers. One will have treasure in it, or at least a little bit, right? Something exciting. The other 2, nothing, and make them just scour the whole world for it, you know?
Oh, that's effectively what people have been doing ever since.
And
the
God, I
ciphers
hope it's
came out.
fake. I mean, just all of these, and at the end of the day, eventually, sometime, somewhere, someone digs it up and finds this thing, and all that's left is just a piece of paper that says "haha" on it.
Like, come on, didn't King Tut do some shit like that too? Like, you thought you found a royal scepter, but it's really just a wooden dildo. Haha.
But yeah, it's
I love that shit. It's so funny.
it's 3 ciphers. All of them are done up as what look to be line page ciphers. And the second one technically isn't a line page, it's a word cipher where every number is a word in the document. So the way that they deciphered the second one was using the addition of the Declaration of Independence that Beale had access to and owned, because there's a record that he did own that edition, and they counted it out and were able to decipher the second one. No one's been able to decipher the first, nor have they been able to decipher the third. But the second one, yeah, completely deciphered by Declaration of Independence. Here's the word, here's the thing. So there's some key text for each of them is the going theory, but no one's 100% sure what the key text for the other two are.
And how old is this? How old are these little?
1880s.
18. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Post Civil War stuff, huh?
Yeah. And by all accounts, yeah, he did have a ridiculous fortune that doesn't seem to have ever been given out by any other sort of will or bequeathment. Some people...
At least, as far as we can tell.
Yeah. Some people saying that it's a hoax from the get-go. There's a bunch of true believers. There's a bunch of people trying to find it. So there's groups that will go out to Bedford County, Virginia, and request permission to dig in certain areas.
I like that. Hi, I'd like to rent a permit for digging. Oh, okay. What are you digging for? Buried treasure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
I swear that's a mini game in Zelda.
A large portion of that county is farmland, so they're going up to farmers asking, "Hey, can I dig in your yard? I promise if I find something, I'll give you part of it."
I wonder how many of the farmers was like, "Yeah, here, use this machinery that will totally till the soil for you."
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, go ahead and work on these fields over there.
It's
Find that
fun.
gold.
You played Farmville. This is like the IRL version. You know? You can LARP as a farmer.
Oh, man. As they're sitting there on the porch sipping mint juleps, sitting there, you almost found it. Just keep digging, you'll find it.
You missed a spot over there.
There you go. Keep digging, you'll find that gold.
That corner needs some attention.
But yeah, it's something that people are still trying to find to this day. And you still have people that are trying to crack the codes. Someone will think that they cracked the code, go try to dig up the location. But no one has found it and then stated that they found it. Let me phrase it that way. Because there's several ideas that it was a real fortune, that it was there, but someone's already found it. There's the idea that it's still there. There's the idea that it was never there and it's been a hoax this entire time.
Well, I mean, if you found it, you probably wouldn't say anything about it, right?
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't. When people win the lottery, more often than not, they don't disclose their name. So, yeah.
Also, when people win the lottery, more often than not, they end up poorer than they were before they...
Well, I mean...
That's why you should always...
yeah.
People should always go, consult a lawyer and then a financial advisor prior to collecting their wins. Just so they're protected when... It depends, because, as far as I always thought that to collect a win, you had to disclose who won.
Certain areas, yes. Certain areas, no.
There are ways around it. What you basically end up doing is setting up kind of like a shell company or a legal vehicle. And, it's just the bearer of the ticket, right? The ticket isn't sold to a person. Nobody knows who bought the ticket. And so the trust or whatever mechanism you have to set up in your state basically claims it. and then you can hide it through that mechanism. But you definitely need to talk to a lawyer before you contact anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and at that point, you'd have the money to at least be able to talk to some of these legalese types.
You wouldn't have anything. You don't have anything at that point.
Oh yeah, there's effectively only a handful of people that haven't ended up worse off after winning the lotto.
I'm willing to take that risk, but I don't want to waste my money on the lotto.
Yep, same.
Yeah.
There's one dude who actually cracked several lotteries in Canada.
What do you mean cracked? Hey, cracked the code, or?
He figured out the point where if he bought this number of tickets with this number of different combinations, the chance of him winning more than he lost was rather goddamn high. It was something like 70 or 80%. So he just kept on doing it again and again and again and again. So he won a shit ton of the lesser prizes, a couple of the big prizes, and
Would that be called like counting cards?
it was functionally counting cards. But the thing is that he first tried to alert the authorities about it, going, hey, there's a problem with your lottery. You do realize that if someone bought this number of tickets, that they're almost assured to win more than they lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they functionally went, yeah, whatever, fuck off. So I went, okay, I'm going to demonstrate it. Fuck it, it's not illegal. And he did it. And after a good while of him just constantly cashing in, they went, oh, yeah, God damn it.
How about you stop doing that, sir?
Mm-hmm. Then there was another guy that ended up cracking the scratcher system in Canada as well. And he did it by looking at a shit ton of... He would get scratcher cards for like white elephant Christmas gift giving type shit.
Mm-hmm.
From people. He never bought them himself up till a certain point. But he figured out that, oh, he was a statistician that got bored, decided that he would look at them, scratched them off, then went to figure out if there was any pattern to the wins and to the losses. He was able to find a pattern. So he went, okay, I'll see if this actually works. Experimented, confirmed his pattern. Again, tried to notify the Canadian lottery people. They kind of went, yeah, whatever, fuck off. And then he went, okay, I'll show you. And he proceeded to win a ridiculous number of the things until they eventually went, oh yeah, you weren't bullshitting, were you? Nope. Okay, we're going to change this now.
Like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because, yeah, it was the... I want to say it was the tic-tac-toe scratch-off lottery tickets that you guys had for a while.
I wouldn't know.
He figured out the pattern in one of the markings on the card. If that marking was there, it was a winner. If it wasn't, it wasn't.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Because someone got lazy in the printing.
Dude, that's all it took?
Yeah.
Wow.
They didn't completely randomize the appearance. So
dude.
He was able to determine that if one number is on the card, it's going to be a winning card. If it isn't there, then it isn't.
It's like weird because it's not like he had figured out some like massive equation. He just noticed that, oh hey, if you win, there's this little marking on this little area of this ticket.
Mm-hmm.
this fucking this shit. Hey, you know what? At that point, he deserves to win. You found it.
And he did something that's slightly hilarious, but also slightly fucked. Again, it wasn't illegal to do. Because after being told, yeah, fuck off, he realized that the best way in order to demonstrate this was to get a job at one of the gas stations selling these cards and just kind of go through and flag the ones that are winners.
Oh yeah, when they get the roll in, just fucking sit there and go through it. Damn. Now that guy stumbled upon a fucking golden goose right there.
But again, he was trying to warn the people, not actually cash in. It was hilarious.
Yeah, well, isn't that some Ant-Man shit? Isn't that what Ant-Man did? No, wait, no, he gave the money back to the people or some shit. I don't know. Yeah. Happy St. Patty's Day.
That reminds me, I forgot to grab my Smithwick's to drink. So, seems like people are a bit slow to talk today, so I have a question that I thought of during work week.
Okay.
But I'm curious how you guys feel on it and where the line is drawn for you. What is the difference?
Outrage. No, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. Go on.
What is the difference between something that is sad to you and something that is tragic? What makes something tragic rather than just sad?
It has to have sort of an epic sadness to it to be tragic.
Or very
It's sort of a
pathetic.
matter- I think it's a matter of scope as well as degree.
Okay.
Or there has to maybe be something ironic to it. Because if you look at something happening to somebody, like saying, oh, this person had so much potential, and then they got run over by a gasoline truck and tasted their own blood and burst into flames. It's tragic because they had the potential and it didn't come to pass, versus just being, oh, that's too bad. Don't play in the road. You know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think there need to be more circumstances to make it tragic. I think most tragic things are sad, but not all sad things are tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say like a tragic incident would be a higher stake type of incident. So, I mean, they're both sad, obviously, but is it a tragedy? No, you know.
Yeah.
In one instance, the puppy died. The other one, it didn't. So, I mean, that one was sad, but a fucking puppy died, dude. That's a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's. I mean, yeah, I have to agree. It had to be something that it has a more dire instant towards the situation. It can't, you know, it's not just. Man, we're live, right?
Yeah.
That we are.
Of course, we live in a simulation, so.
Sora, do you have a take on it?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I think that the tragic is the next step of like deep sadness, but I don't know. Kind of a level of sad irony attached to it as well. That I don't know. Maybe I'm just to me that when I think of tragic nowadays, that's kind of what I think about. But maybe that's a little
Can you
cold.
expand on that a bit more?
It's like you've kind of done bad luck happens, right? And that's oh, that's sad. It's bad luck. Something bad happened to you. But when you've done everything correctly, and I don't know, just something terrible happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, oh, oof, that's like the salt in the wound on top of failing something. I don't know. That's kind of, I can see that as being tragic.
It can't be self-brought upon. It has to be fairly great in its degree. And it has to be somewhat personal. Is that effectively the criteria?
Personal?
Well, not for me.
Yeah, I don't know if it. I mean,
not
personal to the person that it's.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is affecting.
Yeah.
I mean, see, this is where we're getting outside the boundaries here. But it's like, somebody could witness a tragic event without being personally affected by it.
Yeah.
But it's tragic because of the circumstances of which it happened. And it's not just a sad moment of, somebody slipped and got a football hit in the groin or some shit like that. There's a level and agency of it, I guess you could say. Hold on, I got a thesaurus over here. I think I can find some more words to supplement.
Harry asks, is tragedy self-inflicted through hubris or something?
I don't know. I don't think it's really humorous to be at fault or anything, but
hubris, not humorous.
Oh, silly me! I read the foot wrong. Terry, I love you. You goof. Fucking.
I don't know if I would put.
I would almost argue
hubris.
I'd almost argue that it can't be self-inflicted.
It's so much greater.
Well, hold on. Isn't that what a Greek tragedy is? Like a self-inflicted type of thing?
I mean,
it's
part of the circumstance, too.
It's not entirely self-inflicted.
Or like they're born to it. Like they don't have a choice. It's
in the Grecian style. There was the fate. So it was
pushing boulders.
All their actions ended up feeding into the fate.
I can give you a scenario where it's a tragedy, but it's self-inflicted. So you imagine somebody is in a raft at sea and lost, right? Hoping to be rescued. And as the water dwindles and the delirium sets in and you think it's all coming to an end, the person kills themselves. Now, by itself, that would be sad. If it turns out that the rescue boat was only an hour away, then it becomes a tragedy.
Ah, hey, that's a good
like
scenario.
The ending of The Mist, where the main character kills everyone in the car and the child, and not 5 minutes later, the mist clears and the military are there to rescue everyone that he's just killed.
Oh my god, spoilers!
It's like 10 years old.
You had your chance to watch it without being spoiled.
Yeah, I would call that, but is it? Yeah.
No, there
has to be a twist to make it a tragedy. Like, they had so much potential, or they were just about to be saved, or little did they know. There has to be that extra little piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go, not only is it a death, but it was a needless death.
Yeah.
It's the needlessness of the death, because people die all the time, right? And that's horrible. But it becomes a tragedy when it's like, if but for, it could have turned out differently. And that's just makes it that much sadder because it's just like rubbing salt in the wound.
Because there's a situation that I've always found tragic, but an analogous situation, or almost analogous situation, is not at all. So, a lot of people grow weaker as they age. It's well known.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that was never particularly strong, getting weaker as they age, that's sad, but it doesn't reach the degree of tragedy. Whereas if you see someone who was a powerhouse of a person when they were younger, reduced to the point where they can barely stand, that hits more of tragedy to me.
I think that becomes more personal. And obviously that's your definition, because using your example, if it's someone who they've reached at that point and they're well within their twilight years, right? Like they're 80s, 90s, then I would find that more melancholy, because you see the past and you see, oh, you know, it's bittersweet, right? What the sort of the mortality of man or whatever you want to see it. However, if you have that strong person and they suffer paralysis young or stroke, something, you know, that at the peak of their strength, it knocks them down flat, that would be a tragedy for me. Because there's Harry's loss of potential again, that extra bit of something.
I see your level, and I'll raise you. Perhaps a boxer who didn't protect his head as much as he should have.
The Muhammad Ali.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to say any names, but you know, he's not aged, but his career has led him into a state of man, where's my force? I thought I had it.
Didn't he also die? Didn't he also die?
He's dead now.
Yeah, but I'm talking about his, you know,
tragedy.
just his the
decline.
Yeah, the decline of his life, based on his career, and then even being at a younger age. I mean, not, and then again, not, it's not crippling from actual age deficiency. It's from what he endured. I mean, that could be seen as a tragedy, I would say, right? Or no, I don't know. Maybe because he made the choice to do it. So,
well, he didn't have full information.
Yeah.
People did not understand that the punch-drunk boxer would translate into brain damage later in life.
Well, I don't know.
We really did not know the extent to which that kind of damage could have worsening and catastrophic consequences.
Hey, you know, I respect your opinion, but I don't know how much weight I can hold onto getting punched in the head a lot of times might not do nothing.
Oh no, they knew it did something. They just did. They thought it would heal up and you'd walk it off. They didn't realize how long term the effects were.
Yeah, they thought that it was far more you would have immediate deficiency,
like any other injury on your physical body. But again, that was a risk that they were willing to take. Most people don't go into, you know, everyday, you know, boxing and getting hit in the head, but that was their profession. Same thing I would say with like football, you know, especially early on, when they weren't as regulated with what they can do, and you know, a lot of these dudes were just plowing into each other, and it had obvious effects later on, you know. But You could say that's a tragedy, but at the same end, they also...
And I would say that that's also something that would end up working its way out over time.
Yeah.
Like, when you look at historical boxing, and I'm talking straight up bare knuckle boxing.
Mm-hmm.
Early days of bare knuckle boxing, there were a lot of people beaten to fucking death.
Fisticuffs with those nice
And
bicycle mustaches.
You look at later bare knuckle boxing before we went to gloves being the standard.
Yeah.
And the number of people that were beaten to death in a ring from the start to then fucking plummeted. And you would have extremely long boxing matches. I mean, what is the record? Like a 2 or 3 day boxing match of like 60 something rounds? Let me quickly check that, because I remember it being absolutely ridiculous.
And here on the Minions of the Zoo, we don't like to be off on our statistics.
Statistics?
Yeah.
The longest boxing match in history was 110 rounds.
Oh.
How long is the round?
I can't remember. Let me see what the standard boxing round is. Boxing rounds are professional boxing round. The rounds are about 12 minutes round. 12 minutes around. Oh wait, no, sorry. That's a different. Sorry, there's the old rounds, there's the new rounds. I need to quickly double check something. Because there's also, in new boxing matches, they're limited to 12 rounds.
Yeah, but hold on. I thought you were talking about old-timey fisticuffs.
Yeah, that's why I'm double checking, because there's the old and there's the new. And I'm trying to see what the timing is. How long is a round? Come on. What's an Olympic match round? They aren't giving me the time of a round, they're giving me the number of rounds there. Let's see this one.
Bad search.
And this is...
Oh, Mr. Yes. He says here 7 hours and 19 minutes for $2,500 in 1895, April the 6th, 1893. I can't read.
Yeah, it was 110 rounds in over 7 hours. And it was a actually lightweight boxing round, or boxing match. It was the Lightweight Championship of the South.
Mm.
And it was Bowen versus Burke.
Bowen versus Burke. Hmm.
It was apparently Burke started out much stronger than Bowen and was in a commanding lead in the first 25 rounds, but Iron Bowen refused to be knocked out, and he ended up taking it in the 110th round.
Come on, dude, just fall over. Nope.
Actually, he didn't take it in the end. He was edging out after the 25th, then it balanced out again, and apparently it was called a draw in the 110th round. So they each got half the purse. But yeah, old school boxing matches used to be a hell of a lot longer. And like I said, you would have a lot more people beaten to death early on, and then they kind of balanced out and figured out, okay, this is the way that you do it in order not to be beaten to death and not to beat your opponent to death, because most people do not want to kill their opponent, nor do they want to die. And
then there's this young upstart from Brooklyn called Little Mac.
And the problem is, with football, we started implementing other measures other than just dialing it in order to reduce injuries. And there's a hell of a lot of data saying that a lot of the problems that we're currently having in football are actually due to the mechanical aspects that we added in order to make injuries less likely. Because helmets, for instance, massively increase the chance of someone hitting and tackling with their head.
Because they feel they're protected because of the helmets.
Exactly. So,
Of course they do.
Yeah, Fauci's actually recommended you wear 2 helmets. You put a helmet over your helmet, so you're extra helmeted.
that is only a matter of time, given the way he's been going. But
Well, he tried just putting a mask over the top of the helmet, but that didn't work very well.
yeah, and it's something that there's a bunch of different ways that you could get around the number of head injuries that we're having. And unfortunately, a lot of the ways that you kind of train people out of that are ways that places are trying to make illegal in their state. Or ban in their football practices. Like, there's 2 drills especially that really, if you drill these things into your players' heads and you really just
Lobotomize them.
Drills as hard as you can, you will get to the point where your players learn the shit that they need to learn. And the 2 drills that I absolutely recommend are 2 of the drills that are currently getting a lot of shit. And they are Oklahomas and bullpens. So Oklahomas are tackling drills. And the way that my coaches did Oklahomas is the way that I think every coach in the country should do Oklahomas, only even more so. So the way that Oklahomas work is team splits up into 2 lines. 1 line becomes the tackling line. 1 line becomes the running line. And person at the head of the running line is given a ball by the coach. The coach then steps off to the side so that he's kind of in the middle of where the collision would happen with his line of sight. And then the coach gives whatever cadence or call he decides to go for. Some of them are just go, and then you both go. Some of them do the down, set, up, and then they go. Some of them do it as additional count drills. So, for instance, they'll have it be an additional count drill where rather than it's being on the first hut, it's on the second, third, fourth, fifth hut. Or I've also had it where one of the coaches wanted to do silent cadence drills. And the way that the silent cadence drill worked was the coach gave the ball to the first person in the running line, then said to the second person in the running line, whenever you want, just flick him in the back. Just right below the chest plates and the shoulder pads, just flick him in the small of the back. So he would then go to the middle position where the collision will most likely happen. And he would do the down, set, up. and he would just start calling out whatever cadence he wanted, and the person would not move until the person behind them just in their back.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would go, and it was to train people not to go off count, and silent counts are a thing that are done fairly often, at least if the team's disciplined enough. So then the coach would watch for the point of collision, and the rule for the line running is you had to be a north-south runner. A north-south runner is a runner that doesn't juke out of a tackle. They run through a tackle, or they get tackled. So you would have...
There's no hesitation.
Yep, there's no hesitation. There's no, what way am I going to go? It's you run and you try to truck the tackler, and the tackler runs and they try to truck you. And the coach would watch for the point of collision to see where the tackler hit and how they hit that spot. And then they would watch to see how both of them followed through the hit. So if he noticed someone spearing, which is hitting with your head, in a tackle, that person would get chewed out and then get told to run some number of laps in between run a lap and run until I get tired. And that person would have to run.
Mm-hmm.
Driving in the get your head the fuck out of that tackle, jackass. Because that player will now, every time, especially if they get told to run until the coach gets tired, that player will not want to stick their head in a tackle again.
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll just remember, I had to run my fucking ass off. God damn it! So they get their head off to the side and they hit with their shoulder. Takes them down. Fantastic. Works beautifully. That's how you want the tackle to happen. You want the tackle to hit on the shoulder, wrap the arms, sweep the legs down in dirt. And you want the person being tackled to not be knocked boneless, but to go boneless once the fall is unavoidable.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by not be knocked boneless is everyone here has seen someone get hit so hard they just ragdoll the second that the impact happens, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep.
That's being knocked boneless. Going boneless is a conscious decision. So when you're going boneless rather than being knocked boneless is the second the impact happens, you're just completely unable to control your body and you're ragdolling. Going boneless is you hit and you try to resist it up until the point where you realize I'm going down. There is no way I can avoid going down.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment that you have that realization, you let your body go. You let your body... Okay.
Learning to fall safely in a sense.
Yeah, because if... Everyone here has also probably seen someone who is absolutely plastered. I mean, completely off their tit hammered. And they'll take a fall that you're going, oh, they're dead. And then you see them pop back up and they don't have a broken bone.
Because they're all warm and everything feels nice and they're made of jello.
Yeah, it's going boneless. Because if you tense up, that's where a lot of injuries and falls come from.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll break your arm trying to catch yourself in an awkward position where you can't actually catch yourself. You'll tense up and try to absorb the hit by arching your back weirdly.
Mm-hmm.
And when you arch your back, in a weird way, trying to absorb the hit, trying to hit with your shoulder blades into the ground, you can end up fucking up the small of your back, because rather than falling in a natural position, you were effectively goddamn lordosis with your shoulders bent back much further, your ass pushed out like you're slag trying to take the perfect Instagram picture.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And someone's crackling. I think
Check.
it might be...
Maybe me. Hold on.
Yeah, I think it might be you again.
Given that
Is this
Adam and I
better?
are muted, it would have to be.
Yep, it's
Is
better. It's just come back.
Okay. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Double
I'm
check to
sorry.
make sure that it's connected everywhere.
Just
Because
so
it-
static.
Kind of sounds like a connection's half slipped almost.
Everything is clicked, so I'm not quite sure why.
Okay.
Are you using a blue microphone?
No, it's a headset.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying that because I've had people give me shit for my dislike of blue microphones. People are like, hey, that's my microphone. It's like, well, how many different microphones did you try out before you decided it was a good one? This one. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you're happy.
But yeah, so they'll arch their back, and in the fall, they'll end up torquing the small of their back because you aren't supposed to be in that position. That is not a standard healthy position for your body. The only thing that you should really do when it comes to falling backwards like that, don't kind of thrust your shoulders and your ass back. That's bad because then you bow your back. If you're going to do something, hunch your head, because then you and don't hunch your head and hold it hunched. And she clicked something that kicked her out. She'll have to
She's probably restarting or something. Well, I'm sure she'll be back.
unclick it in order for me to click her back in. I'm just saying that out loud. That way she can hear it.
Something in her head.
But yeah, you kind of hunch your head and you don't try to hold it there desperately, because just like tensing up anywhere else, you tense up there, you're going to fuck your neck. So,
Yeah, mountain biking has similar, not mountain bike, I mean motocross, motorcycles. If you're
Yep.
going to go off-road on a motorcycle, one of the first things they teach you how to do is fall without screwing yourself up.
yep. And
Because you will fall, and when you do fall, you be glad you know how to fall.
yeah, and they probably told you something similar about don't thrust your back out. Just kind of dip your head a little bit, because then you kind of roll a bit more rather than snap your head into the ground. But yeah, there's going boneless, and that makes it so that you're far less likely to take an injury. And if people were being drilled in get your head out of the fucking hit and going boneless when it came to being tackled, a lot of injuries disappear that way. And the
In car crashes, people who are asleep when the crash happens often come out pretty much unscathed, as long as
Yep.
they're wearing a seatbelt, because they don't have defensive wounds.
Yep. And you see that all the time, where people will have broken forearms from a car crash. And their broken forearms came from them trying to reach out and push against the dashboard as it was coming up, and their arms couldn't take that shit. So they...
Well, isn't there like those like odd stories? I mean, it might be like a goofy story that I might have heard, but isn't there like those weirdo stories where it's like the drunk driver survives because he was so like, loose, yeah, and that he survived the wreckage. His body just was so limp that it just didn't the crash didn't affect him.
Yeah, that happens at times. And fuck, I knew this is one of the few instances where this is the case. I transported someone. I can't give any real details about this, other than they should have been dead by all means, because they crashed at such speed that their car ended up in a tree. I don't mean wrapped around a tree. I don't mean crashed against a tree. I mean, they shot up an embankment and ended up with their car in a tree. And one of the boughs of the tree slammed into the place where the person's head should have been. The thing was, they were completely plastered and they weren't wearing their seatbelt. Again, this is not something that you should do, as I'll be much safer driving if I'm hammered and not wearing a seatbelt. No, you will not. This is a freak incident where this actually worked out in this guy's favor. Because what happened was, this tree was backed up against farmland, and a bit into the farmland was a freshly broken bale of hay. And this guy launched up, his car started smashing through boughs as it went to its final resting place in the tree. And with one of the early boughs to be broken, he was tossed through the windshield that had been broken just enough that it didn't completely fuck him in the process, out the front windshield, through the top of the tree, into the broken hay bale. His body was absolutely fucked to bits, but he was alive. And he was saved. And I transported him when he was going to physical therapy.
Fucking physical therapy, man. Get out of here, dude.
Yeah.
So was he happy to still be alive?
Oh, yeah. And he realized that he was a fucking idiot for doing all that, but also realized, goddamn, the fucking chance of that. Because he had been told all of this when he was able to be woken up from being put under for the massive amount of surgery that he needed. Because this dude had all sorts of shit that he needed in order to get pieced back together. And he had external fixation on the leg. And due to that, I just remembered something retarded, because this was when I was working for one of the companies that I did, because I worked for two different companies as an EMT. This was for the first one, which you guys have heard me bitch and moan about before, because fuck that first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I got one of the dumbest things from someone higher up in that company. Whoever was reviewing the write-up for the runs that we did, because they sent out this letter to a bunch of people trying to correct our grammar. And the thing that they wanted to correct was a fixation is an obsession. It makes no sense that someone's leg was externally obsessed.
Wait, his leg?
Yes. When someone breaks their bone sufficiently horrendously, and we're talking comminuted fractures galore, comminuted being many breaks, there's a device that's put on the limb that has this broken bone. It's an external fixation device.
Oh god, dude, this doesn't include fucking like drills and
Yes, it does.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go take a cigarette break.
Yep, you can step out for a quick moment. But the external fixation device, you'll be able to very easily recognize as being an external fixation device. If you've ever seen someone that has...
Is that like the cage?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
The cage with the metal rods going into the person? Yeah, that's
Yes.
a fixation device. That is the actual term for that. That's the generic term for that type of device. It's an external fixation device. So a bunch of people that are EMTs and paramedics and know the goddamn terminology were being told by our write-up grammar checker that you guys keep saying that someone's leg or arm is externally obsessed. You do realize how stupid that sounds, right?
It's jargon, you knob.
Yeah. That was effectively
Yeah,
the
don't.
nasty gram that they got back from everyone else. It was... It's a device. It's the actual fucking name of it. It's medical
device.
jargon, you idiot. We're not saying that their leg is externally obsessed. Yes, that sounds completely fucking retarded.
But it's
Which
also
is-
what's the context that we're speaking of, you know? Like,
Yeah. And pretty much everyone just had this, the fuck is wrong with you, you semi-evolved mongoloid simian?
so we're not saying you're stupid, but we're saying you're not stupid.
And we're not saying you're stupid. We're just saying that the things you're saying are stupid.
Oh, no,
Or the
I
things
was-
that a stupid person would say.
I was saying that she was an absolute goddamn dribbler.
Hey, I'm not saying anybody's stupid, but I'd be damned if I cannot fathom the thought of things being drilled into your bones. Ooh.
Yep.
Nope.
It's not the most comfortable of image, I agree.
Yeah, that person that gave us that correction as a mass email to all of the EMS and paramedics that had typed in external fixation or external fixation device. Just goddamn stellar example of someone with a room temperature IQ that doesn't even have the goddamn decency to make it in Fahrenheit.
Why does external fixation sound like a fucking fetish or some shit?
It sounds very Freudian, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tell me about your mother and her
Got a
external
fake
apparatus.
Well, it's because pretty much the main uses of fixation that you hear in common parlance are oral and anal fixation. Because you have a power problem if you have an anal fixation, and you have a security problem if you have an oral fixation, if I remember correctly.
What? Hold on. How do you have a
Take your word
power
for it.
fixation?
So
if you have a-
when it comes to the Freudian versions of anal retentive and oral retentive, the issues that come to play with each of those, when it comes to oral retentive people, that, if I remember correctly, is an issue with feeling insecure. Because if you notice, babies tend to suck on things when they feel insecure. So you give them a binky, or they'll just stick their thumb in their mouth and absolutely fuck their teeth. But it's something that infants do in order to calm themselves.
They need baby muzzles.
So that's where oral fixation comes in. Anal fixation is also something that he talked about, which is the anal retentive person. And his idea of being anal retentive is an obsession with power due to feeling like you don't have enough. So the reason why it's anal retentive or anal fixated is because his different periods that he broke up and explained what each period of development in the Freudian model, which was fucking weird. The point where you learn to shit is the point where you really start getting power, according to Freud, because now you have the power to choose when and where you shit.
I want to go when I want to go.
So
yeah, that's kind of funny.
Thinking of dinosaurs, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the ability to choose when and where you want to shit, and this is the first real taste of power and control over your life that you get. So if you're anal retentive or anal obsessive, it means that you feel like you don't have power in your life, so you're trying to exhibit increased control over any small aspect that you do feel like you have power in.
Hey,
So-
can I be real for a second?
Yep.
Regarding the what you're saying here, I would say, in my recent experience, I would have to agree with it because after using your right arm for a while and then not being able to use it as efficiently, you find yourself encountering many struggles that you might not otherwise have thought you would come across. And yeah, it's bad. This fucking sucks, dude. So it's difficult to wipe your ass when you can't use your fucking arm. Let's just there's the blunt end of it. China. There you go.
So yeah, you had the oral retentive, which was feeling unsafe, so they needed to calm down. You had the anal retentive, which was feeling like they had no power, so they really just strangled down on anything that they had control over, which is where you end up with the idea of the anal retentive person being the control freak. It's because it's any small area where they feel like they have power or they feel like they have a say. It has to be done in their very specific, peculiar way, or else it is wrong, and fuck you for trying.
You've ruined it. You ruined everything.
Yep.
Don't get mad at people for having standards, Sanguine.
And then
You're just thinking about your butt.
you have the Phallic Stage, which follows the anal stage.
Not enough people think about their butt.
Hold on. Why does
Take care of your butt and it'll take
Because this is the psychosexual development of people according to Freud. Freud was fucking weird. So the way that it went was you had the oral stage, which was needing nurture, needing security and safety, as exemplified by babies sucking on thumbs and binkies and whatnot in order to be calmed down. Then you had the anal phase, which is people learning how to shit, and it's their first real expression of power. This is all in the Freudian version. So this is not something that I'm saying. This is actually what's going on. This is what Freud was saying was going on. So the anal stage is when you're learning to shit and you're getting that first taste of power and you're actually getting some control over your life. So if you're anal retentive, you're overly focused on control that you feel like you don't have, so you overexert it in every other area. Then the phallic stage is when people first learn, hey, if I play with my bits, it feels good. And they're the ones that give over to their carnal desires and their libido. So a phallic retentive or phallic obsessive personality or phallic fixated personality is absolutely obsessed with getting their rocks off in the most literal sense. And then you have the latency phase, which follows that. And that is after the phallic, but it still includes some of the aspects of the phallic. Because, by the way, the phallic was not quite when you first masturbate to completion in his model. No. This was just when, you know, small kids will sometimes just jam their hand down their pants and start playing with their dick or what have you.
Who's like, what is it?
Yeah, that was the phallic stage. So this is still young children in the Freudian model are going through the phallic stage. They haven't figured out exactly what it's for, but they're able to figure out.
Oh my god, how long is this phallic
pleasure,
stage?
according to him. And then
How
there's
long is what? Adam?
how long is the phallic stage? He asked.
Waka waka.
Well,
Oh,
considering
probably
that
not a good joke for the Muppets. I'm sorry.
That's an excellent joke.
That was more of a joke for the Dark Muppets. Waka waka.
considering that Freud believed that the next stage could start as early as 7, yeah, the phallic stage was before 7. Though it could be anywhere from... So the next stage, according to Freud, could start anywhere between the age of 7 and 17, with an average of about 13. And then that's the latency stage, which still has a sexual undertone, but it ends up with its own kind of twist on things. And it's also where, according to him, the Oedipus, or the Oedipal complex, the Oedipus complex, and the later named but also talked about by him Electra complex were supposed to dissolve. Because before this, he had the view of, yeah, you want to fuck your parents. And then once you hit this point, you're starting to go, fucking my parents would be weird.
He's a very strange person.
Yeah. And then after the latency, you had the genital stage. Yes, 2 of them are named after genitalia. The phallic stage and the genital stage.
It kind of sounds to me like, shit, I've run out of ideas. I need another stage.
Yeah, and
They're going to cut my funding.
The genital stage is the one where, according to him, you first wanted to start fucking people outside of your family. Because Freud had some fucking weird hang-ups.
So it's because, like, oh, you couldn't get it in the family, so now you're going to try to get it outside the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's...
Okay.
Like I said, it's just what the fuck.
Okay.
I'm pretty cynical about psychologists for the most part. The ones that deal with group behavior, where you can assign numbers to it and say, well, 20% of this group will do such and such in a given circumstance. That seems fine. And they certainly have described a bunch of different things, that they've seen in these large groups of people. I think the mistake is when somebody who's actually a clinical psychologist tries to take these generalizations and studies about larger groups of people and then say, oh, well, that means that according to the DSM, you fit this, this, and this. And working backwards from aggregates to individuals is a really tricky thing to do. It's very subjective on the part of the therapist. And a lot of therapists are not very good. There are a few that are really great, but a lot of them are kind of hacks. At least that's been my experience dealing with them.
Yeah, and there's really two ways that psychologists, or three ways that psychologists are fairly decent, and it's the one that Harry just mentions, one. Then there's the cognitive behavioral therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Those tend to be pretty fucking legit because it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's a working through. So these are the general different models. Let's figure out if you fit into any of these, or if one of them, if you're kind of a blending of a couple of them, and let's figure out the therapy that works best. And also, they're the ones that tend to have, this is my catalog of former patients that are no longer seeing psychiatrists. These are the 12 that I'm currently actively seeing. Whereas a number of other different splits of psychology, it's, yes, every person that sees me is either seeing me or seeing another psychologist. Well, how long have they been seeing? Oh, some of them for decades. Are they any better? They still need a lot of help. And those people are the ones that I'm going, that doesn't seem right.
You're just a more expensive version of a life coach at that point.
Yeah, and those are the people that really bother me. And then the third type that is also fairly legit are the neuropsychologists, where they're actually dealing with neurobiologists and the individual data of brain scans and shit like that in order to augment their practice.
Well, I was very specific when I said, people who look in the DSM-4 or 5 and then try to make a diagnosis. And the DSM-5, not that I'm an expert on it, but as I understand it, a lot of things that were really sort of, here are the criteria, you have X, or you likely have X condition, versus everything's on a spectrum now, which seems like a great way to make money, because no matter what you are, you're a little bit broken by the DSM-5 definitions. They can always find at least some scale where, oh, well, you're a little bit more than average on this particular scale, therefore you're mildly something or other. Let's schedule another appointment for you. And I don't find such definitions to be terribly useful. I understand that sort of a hard and fast rule that if you're at 0.98 and 1.01 is the threshold, that's saying that there might not be an issue if you're kind of on the border, isn't terribly useful. But the idea that everybody's just a little bit X, Y, and Z doesn't seem to be a very useful diagnostic tool.
Yeah, and it pisses me off the number of things that they've gone. It's a spectrum to other things as well. Because, like, the diagnosis that I was given is now no longer a thing. And
DSM-4 I have very little problem with.
Yep.
It's the DSM-5 that I think is cancer.
Yeah, and it was in the DSM-5 that Asperger's syndrome was purged and just lumped in with HFA, high-functioning autism. And they have different aspects, and the thing that pisses me off the most about the autism spectrum disorder is that now they have everything from what used to be categorized as autism and was also broken off into, because Asperger's syndrome was always kind of a form of autism. It just was its own category within it. Asperger's syndrome was the asocial / antisocial aspects. Those were the classic symptoms. And now they have everything from the anti / asocial to the hypersocial in autism spectrum.
Wait, so anything from anti to hyper.
Yes.
Okay.
Which literally means everything.
Everything, yeah. That's so it how does that become a useful diagnostic tool?
Yeah, every social level is within the definition of the autism spectrum disorder now.
All this is going to do is help teachers say, well, I can't teach this child. It has to either go into a special focus group or medicated or something like that because I don't know.
Yep, and
It seems dangerous.
and that isn't the only thing that is a spectrum from negative infinity to positive infinity. Another one of the things that is now a symptom that's on a spectrum with this is the standard symptom of Asperger's syndrome, or the classic symptom of Asperger and autism, which was the inability or uncomfortableness when making eye contact. Because eyes are fucking creepy. And why the fuck would you want to look at them? For anything longer than, yeah, they're pretty, look away.
Hey, Sanguine. Do you know
Yes.
how you can identify the less introverted mathematicians?
Ow.
The less introverted ones are the ones that look at your shoes.
Nice.
Yes, there you go. Sorry.
But, yeah. They have everything
Aw.
from the
Hey man, what about my shoes?
It's cute.
inability to make eye
$100.
contact. Yeah, they have the inability to make eye contact all the way up to almost obsessive eye contact.
But what
I've
if I wear
encountered those people.
Yeah, but that is again a symptom that they say this symptom is expressed in a spectrum, and the spectrum is bookended by inability and obsessive. Which means that every level of eye contact is in that range. There is no level of eye contact that does not fall within that range.
So unless you're basically visually impaired to a significant degree, you've got it.
Even then, you're still going to be categorized as somewhere in between no eye contact at all and eye contact 24/7.
I think if you're effectively blind, I don't think you get to pin eye contact on them.
I don't trust them far enough to say that you're correct in that assumption.
Oh, I know. I don't trust them either, and on that we agree.
And that's the shit that pisses me off, because it would make a hell of a lot of sense if they went, hey, there's a syndrome that is like autism, but is a hypersocial syndrome. So they go, okay, you have autism, which is from this point to this point in the eye contact. So from uncomfortableness making eye contact to the almost complete inability to make eye contact. That is autism. And then in the hypersocial variant, this other disorder that is similar in some respects, but not the same as, you take it from the mirror of that. So it's the strong drive to make eye contact to the we have to make eye contact. If you're in the room with me, I will be staring straight into your eyes.
Oh man, come on now, that's not fair. Let me unveil myself here. When I was talking to my doctor today, I had a hard time looking at him in the eye. I mean, I don't know why I say that, but it was just difficult. But what I did, it's like a steady thing. I don't know. I think it's I mean, I attribute that to the whole. There's not a lot of interaction between peoples nowadays going on, uh, like in a public space. Um,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
but it also, yeah, it's just it's just a weird feeling out there. But yeah, even with people like that, you focus on one one aspect of one eye, I guess.
But yeah, it's something that just it is infuriating that they're washing out so many goddamn terms that if they maintained what they were in the 4, they're actually useful. But when you have so many of the symptoms of autism, or now as it's phrased, autism spectrum disorder, being everything that could possibly be, it makes that diagnosis completely goddamn useless. And that doesn't help anyone. In fact, that hurts the people that are actually suffering from autism as it once was known. Because
Well,
now
isn't that
everyone has it, so what does it matter?
like, isn't that how it always happens? When they start to try and fix it, they just add more obstacles into the way of trying to alleviate the problem.
Yeah, that seems to be their go-to right now. And it's like one of the things that was really promising when it came to the science of gender identity, that was actually promising when it came to that, rather than just let's cite the fucking Dr. Money paper, which I've raged about that I don't know how many times on stream, so I don't think I need to rage about it again right now. But it is the Andrew Wakefield of gender study, and it should be recognized as such, but it's effectively the foundational paper in that field. Whereas there is actually a bit of really good, really promising research, which was the brain scan research, where they were looking into, is there a difference between the men that identify as men, know that they're men, nothing different, cis, if you want to refer to them as that, men, and the women that know that they're women, all that shit, again, cis, if you want to refer to them as that. And then the people that identify as the other gender. And they were looking into the brain scans. And the preliminary research in that was looking really promising because it was showing, or not showing, but it was demonstrating that it might have been the case, due to the fact that it wasn't able to go all the way through. It is something that I still have to really hedge all the words for here in order to be at least accurate while describing it. There were indications that it may be possible to diagnose gender dysphoria with a brain scan and confirm that someone is actually gender dysphoric. Because it seemed like, at least in the original work that was being done, that there were brain differences between men and women, and that the people that were brain scanned that were transgender had effectively a brain-body disconnect, where body masculine, brain more towards feminine. body feminine, brain more towards masculine. And this was really promising research that, like I said, if it had continued to receive funding and it had continued, and the results did not come back that it was just a massive fluke in the first few rounds of experimentation, which is one of the things that can happen. You can end up with just extremely odd data if the null hypothesis is accurate, and the null hypothesis still be accurate, because you just luck of the draw. And you ended up with the 5% data that you'll get 5% of the time if the null hypothesis is accurate. And it's just a, well, shit. Okay, yeah, that was just a fluke. But if it had continued, as the data was indicating it very well might have, then we would have had a way of testing for gender dysphoria, which, if I'm pretty sure that most of the people I know, myself in particular, I'm rather against the idea of sticking kids on hormone blockers and the puberty blockers and various hormone cocktails when it comes to this shit. But if that research had completely panned out, and the final result was that, yes, all the indications from the early research panned out at the end of the research, I would feel far more comfortable that if someone has this brain-body mix-up, according to all of the scans that we can do, then giving that person the treatments in order to bring the body more in line with the brain. Because when it's a brain-body mix-up, you have two options. You can either bring the brain in line with the body, or you can bring the body in line with the brain. Currently, we have almost zero ability to bring the brain in line with the body. We have not perfect ability, but greater than zero ability to bring body in line with brain. Because we can't get it a perfect, yep, now they're physically, biologically female, but we can get them a close enough fit that it can get rid of some of the symptoms. I would be far more comfortable if we had that diagnostic test to go, yep, brain-body disconnect, let's bring the body more in line with the brain. Sure. But without that data, it just pisses me off, because it's just goddamn human experimentation without the fucking decency of saying, yeah, we're going to experiment on people and see what happens. It'd be fucked, but at least I'd be able to go, okay, are they signing up for this shit? Does everyone have informed consent in this? Okay, yeah, fuck it, let's go. But no, they aren't getting informed consent. They aren't getting everyone read up. They aren't just going, so this might work, let's give it a go and see if it does. By the way, you're part of an experiment now. That would be one situation, but it's not that situation, and it pisses me off because it's not that situation. And it pisses me off because we aren't getting proper diagnostic. Instead, what do? They remove the diagnostic criteria from the psychological journals, because that's going to help people.
No, self-diagnosis is the only acceptable diagnosis, Sanguine. That's what's going on.
Yeah, and that infuriates me, because for nothing else would a self-diagnosis work. I mean, shit. When
The whole internet is full of young people who are like, they never listen to me, so I've self-diagnosed myself as XYZ. That's like what people call a Tumblr generation. And it's a little bit scary. Not to say that some of these don't have issues. It's just that no, they self-diagnose and then they stop and they go no further for help. Potentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, and it's one thing if you did what I did, because when before I got diagnosed, I knew that there was weird shit about me. Because, yeah, a lot of people have really easy time making eye contact. I had to learn, look at the bridge of people's noses when they're close, and they'll think that you're looking in their eyes. And the farther they are away from you, the farther away you can look. And I had to learn a shit ton of other coping mechanisms. So I knew that weird shit was going on with me. And then I was in high school and I started hearing more about Asperger's syndrome. And I went, some of this shit sounds like me. And then I went and pursued getting tested. I didn't pursue a diagnosis. I went, okay, who are the proper people that can actually do this testing? Does this seem like a reasonable thing from my primary care, given the shit that I have in my history and the shit that I can tell them? If so, have my primary care write up the referral to the specialist that is actually able to do the proper testing, because that's another problem. There's a shit ton of people that will do the testing, but they aren't actually the specialist in that field, which when it comes to Asperger's syndrome and when it comes to autism, you really want to get tested by someone who's actually a specialist in autism and Asperger treatment and diagnostic work, because a lot of people fuck that up. So you want to get someone who's actually properly certified, properly trained, all that shit, and works in that specialty to do the workup for you. And they aren't. So with certain specialties, you end up with well, if you ask a hammer what the problem is, it's always a stuck-up nail. And when it comes to the majority of autism and Asperger's specialists, at least at the time that I was getting diagnosed, that was not the case. They were very good at, no, we will only pursue this if it all comes through the testing, which was not some ridiculously subjective method of testing, but was really well worked out. Then we'll say, yep, it looks like you have autism or it looks like you have Asperger's syndrome. So I found out about it. I went, okay, is this something that I might have? I asked the people that were important in getting diagnosed. I went through the process properly. I answered all of the questions honestly, and they ask them in a number of different ways, meant to catch out people that are trying to manufacture a diagnosis. And I got my diagnosis when it came through all the paperwork, when all the testing was done. It was yeah, you're autistic, or you're Asperger's syndrome, and it's easily determined by this, 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 and this. Here are the major things, and when I was in college when the testing finally got finished, and when I went to get the, IAP? The special allowance for, like, additional time when writing essays and shit like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when I went to submit my paperwork with the office that does the IAPs, in order to get some additional time when writing essays, because that was one of the major issues that I had that I have due to my Asperger syndrome. I have difficulty getting things from my head through my hand onto paper.
Yes.
The people that were looking it over ended up saying that this is some of the most thorough write-up on this that we've ever received. Yeah, you get this shit. Because, like I said, I went to a specialist in my area that was dealing with this, did the full testing, got everything done properly. It's one thing if you hear about something and you go, that might be me. Let me go through the proper channels and the proper protocols to see if it is actually me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another thing if I would have done what so many people nowadays do, which is, that sounds like me. I have Asperger's syndrome. Well, have you been tested? No, but I have Asperger's syndrome.
Yeah. And if you say I don't, you're a racist or something.
Yeah. If you say I don't, then you're an ableist and you're denying my lived experience.
Yeah.
No, I'm...
This is my truth.
Proof.
No, I'm just telling you, you don't have Asperger's.
I'm demanding proof. I'm perfectly fine if you're able to get the proper test results the first time through with a specialist, then yeah, I'm willing to go, yep, looks like you have Asperger's syndrome because all your paperwork checks out. You have Asperger's syndrome. But if you aren't going through that process, you aren't getting your diagnosis done up entirely, then fuck you. I don't care what you think you have. Do you have a diagnosis? And is this a diagnosis that you shopped around for? Because that's another thing that pisses me off. Like I said, there's a bunch of people that will do testing for Asperger's syndrome and autism, but most of them aren't actually specialists in that field. And a lot of those tests are kind of slapshod or slapdash tests.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't fully done up. They aren't working entirely right. And it's, no. You have a diagnosis that you effectively bought and paid for, but you went to one person, they didn't give you the diagnosis you wanted. So you went to another person, and they didn't give you the diagnosis. So you went to another, and they didn't. And so you went to another, and then another, and then another. And then when you hit your 7th doctor in a row, he finally went, yeah, you have this disorder. And you celebrated because you found the one right doctor.
The one who really gets you.
Yeah. And that's horseshit. Unless there's a goddamn good reason to believe that someone did something fucked up in the process of examining you, don't do that shit. I've had one time where I went back to my primary care after getting one diagnosis from a specialist, and I went, okay, this is the diagnosis that he gave me. This doesn't sound like what you were thinking it was. And, oh yeah, by the way, he didn't look at any of the imaging. And my doc went, okay, we're going to send you to a different specialist, and I'm going to actually write up the fact that this is what happened in your appointment with that doc, because how the fuck do you not look at the imaging? And that was, I had 2 torn muscles in my right shoulder. I went to one doc. The primary care that I had at the time, the primary care was this old as shit doctor who was an absolute goddamn genius. And he examines me, asks me what happened. I tell him everything that happened, and he double checks a couple things, and he goes, okay, so first off, you have at least 2 torn muscles in your right shoulder, ripped entirely off the bone. Second off, your right pectoral probably hurts like hell right now, but you didn't mention that because you're going, yeah, I injured my shoulder playing football, and you get hit in the chest in football because you said that you're a lineman. So you're probably just chalking that up to, oh, that's football pain, right? Well, you're wrong. You stressed every single muscle in your right pectoral.
Oh, lovely. That sounds comfortable.
You also didn't mention that your right back is hurting. And it's probably for much the same reason as he didn't mention your pectoral. Either that or just the pain from your shoulders drowning out that pain. But again, you overstressed every single muscle in your right back.
Come on, man. I heard all of this today already. So,
And
I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
then gave me that diagnosis, but we have to get the imaging, we have to get the specialist taking a look at it, make sure that this is all right, and make sure that it's only 2 torn muscles. So he sent me in to get imaging. I got the MRIs, I got the x-rays that I needed. I was sent to this one specialist, went into the office. The nurse knocked on the door a few moments after I entered, went, oh yeah, by the way, doctor, here's all of his imaging, handed him a disc, and the doctor set it on top of his computer, never put it in. Diagnosed me as having a strain.
So, never actually looked at any of the images?
Never looked at any of the images. Went back to the primary care. Primary care sent me to another specialist. That specialist, first thing as I'm walking into the room that I was led back to see him, he's sitting at his computer with the images on his screen. He looks over at me, holding my medical record, and goes, it says that you saw a specialist for this already. I have one quick question. Did he look at the imaging discs, or were these images taken after? Because it seems like the only mention of imaging was before this. No, those were all from before. He didn't look at this, did he? No. That makes a lot of sense. You see this and this? They're supposed to be attached here. You have 2 torn muscles. When do you want your surgery? And that was the process with that second doc. So, if you have a damn good reason, sure, go get a second opinion.
Second opinion, I would.
But
Yes.
it's one thing to get a second opinion when you're going, that doesn't sound entirely right. It's another thing to go for your 7th or 8th.
Dude, I was on my 3rd opinion today, and he figured out what happened. So,
Oh,
yeah.
excellent.
you know, it's yeah, definitely. If you're having problems, keep searching for the answer, because
if the problem's unresolved, then keep digging after it. But if it's, I feel like I have this disorder, and I've diagnosed myself with this disorder, don't just keep going to doctors because no doctor's telling you have that disorder.
Well, hold on. We're not talking about those people that make up their own disorders. And
Well, that was where it started.
Oh.
So I was saying that there are cases where you do want to go for a second or sometimes third opinion, but
Wait, what?
you only do that with really damn good reason. You don't just go to docs because, well, that doctor didn't tell me what I wanted him to tell me.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I go to my doctor today. He wanted me to go on a physical therapy regimen for like a couple of weeks, and I told him like, hey, dude, I gotta go back to work, otherwise there's no money coming in. So we had a back and forth with that, at least. Oh shit, we're live. Damn it.
And we are about to close off, so shall we close off and then we can continue talking about what you want to talk about? Because it sounds like you don't want to talk about it on air entirely.
We can talk about Adam's pain.
It was kind of ran off track. Kind of like going on a rainbow road and beep, beep, beep.
Yep. But who wants to go first today when it comes to parting words? Because it seems like now's a good time to close out.
Mine are super short. I was just going to say thanks for having me on, and I appreciate
Always good
it.
having you.
It's always fun hanging out with you guys. And gal. She's
Why are
a
you
swell
singling me
gal,
out?
that Sora Luna.
Oh, we forgot.
She's the swellest.
Golly
What was-
gee whiz, thanks.
Now I'm trying to remember what was the title that we were going to ask, what number it was in her filmography.
What do you mean? Like
I
the
do
amount
not
of time
know.
that she's been on? Or
It was something said early on when she popped away for a moment to grab her food.
Oh, I missed
it was about the pepperoni. Because
Oh, yes.
Whiskey gets pepperoni.
What what video number is hard salami?
Oh yeah,
that would
what's
be
a
one of
hard-
the early ones.
Okay.
Has to be one of the earlier ones. So pre-fame.
Okay.
Maybe third or fourth.
So, Sora, do you want to give your parting words?
There you go. It's a nice lead up into it.
I wish everyone
Very
sweet
saucy.
dreams and good drinks on whatever's left of St. Patty's Day for you. Drink responsibly. And then drink water before going to bed.
And take your B vitamins.
So, I already had Adam say his parting words, right? Or did I skip you, Adam?
No, I didn't say my parting words.
Give it a go.
All right. Well, in favor of St. Patty's Day, happy St. Patty's Day. Be good. But otherwise, yeah. I love you and God bless you. Take care.
And with that, despite it no longer being St. Patty's Day, but having started out on St. Patty's Day, I think I'll leave off with a old toast, or at least part of an old toast. May the best you've ever seen be the worst you'll ever see, and may you all live a long and happy life, and be as happy as I wish you all to be.
That's nice.
And with that, have a good night all. The zoo is closed.
Good night.
Good night.